It is always a win when your wife sends you a message to let you know there are some freebies going down the road, and then you get there in time to get your hot little hands on them. Are they attractive? Not so much. Solid and functional? Indeed they are. Shiny knobs? Oh so shiny. Covered in artistic scratches? You best believe it. Hey team, I'm Cole. Flipitnation is the name of my channel, and here you will find plenty of furniture makeovers, restorations, and transformations. The fanciest power tool I own is this cordless drill. Being a dad to this young dude is my most favorite thing to do, and I believe that if I skate often, surely I'll remain forever young. These are what I would call solid workhorses. Not antiques, not brand new, they serve their purpose and generally keep to themselves. Well, not for long, folks. When I'm finished with these, they'll be extroverted, ready to mingle, and instigating a dance-off to Stand Alive by the Bee Gees. Curious? Well, let's get into it. We will kick things off by stripping this varnish. Now, I highly recommend this particular paint stripper. In my last video, a lot of people were asking about it. I believe it's only available in the UK, so apologies for that. However, if you can get your hands on it, definitely do. I didn't have enough left and I wanted to get started on this project, but delivery was going to take a few days, so I had to opt for this other one, which is good, but much messier and not quite as effective. And because of those things, it does take longer. So let's just pull the pin and get this done. I start by sanding with 40 grit sandpaper, and this gives the stripper a bit of a head start. And some instructions even recommend this step. So if you don't do it, maybe give it a shot. As you can see, this stuff is really runny, and it's around now that I realized I should have just got in the car and driven to the shop and bought some more instead of waiting for my Amazon delivery. After washing it down with hot soapy water, you can see that it's still quite patchy with varnish. But because this outside carcass is going to be painted, I'm not too bothered, and I know a little bit of sandpaper will remove what's left. For the drawer fronts, I'm going to be applying veneer, so I'll just give them a light scuff sand. But the existing finish is actually coming off quite easily with the scuff sand, and I almost end up removing all of it with the sander. So I probably should have just done that on the exterior of the unit instead of messing around with the stripper. When I washed the unit, it would have raised the grain a little, so I'm just going to go over it quickly with 240 grit sandpaper to knock any of that down. Well, you can see I take really good care of my primer, and there's definitely no way I'm getting that lid off without my trusty screwdriver. I use a foam roller to apply my primer, And some people might say that's not a good idea because of air bubbles, but if you don't go too thick, it's not too bad. Also, being primer, you do sand it before you paint, and you should always sand in between paint coats anyway. So I do it this way because it's faster and less messy, but I guess I'm practicing it and we all learn our own techniques and what we prefer. So just do as you wish, but for me this works quite well. And now the fun part, it's time to get stuck into the veneer for these drawer fronts. I want to cover the front, tops and sides, and I've actually picked up this roll off eBay. I think it was around £18 for 2.5 meters, and it's about 30 centimeters wide. And it's actually glued to a really thin fibrous material. And if you've worked with veneer before, you'll know that it's super brittle and it can be very fragile. So when it breaks, it's kind of like you just have to get rid of it. But with this being stuck to this material, if it was to break, it held together really well, so you could glue it down and you would not even see the break. So yeah, it really made the whole process of applying the veneer so much easier. This is an Australian sandalwood, and you can see the grain is really beautiful. It's got some really nice red and brown tones coming through. And I suppose it is quite bold, but that is the look we are going for. Now it's time to measure up. I take as many measurements as I can to get some accurate cuts. Because this front panel is slightly curved, I can't use a hard ruler. So I lay the veneer down on top of it and get a correct measurement. I'm using the lower section of the veneer for the drawer fronts and sides, and the top section to do the curved drawer tops. This ensures I maximize the use of the veneer and hopefully don't have too much wastage. I'm actually just hoping I have enough at the moment because it looks like it could be quite tight. As you can see, the straight lines cut reasonably easy with a knife, but obviously I want these to be super accurate so there isn't too much fuss and I don't have to do too much trimming once I've stuck them on. I want them to go on like a nice puzzle. So in order to do that, I'm going to, I guess you could say, cheat a little bit. I'm going to use this X-Tool P2. So I can basically load all the measurements in and it will cut it perfectly, very quickly and very accurately with zero fuss. As you can see here in the background, there are a few different wooden magnets that I've been working on. You'll find a link to my shop underneath this video where you can purchase these magnets to help support me and my channel. I've also got a bunch of stickers based off these magnets and of course this Groovy cap. It's embroidered, good quality, great for covering up that receding hairline, or if you need that little daily reminder to go easy on yourself. This shot is in real time, so I haven't sped this up. So you can see it cuts very quickly and very accurately. And that is looking pretty sharp. I'll get on with the rest of it. While the rest of the cuts would have been quite easy to do with a knife, this curved part would have been quite difficult, so I was really pleased to have the laser for this because I'm actually not too sure how good of a job I would have done by hand on this sort of curve. The primer is now dry, so I'm going to give it a really quick sand to smooth it all out and get onto my first coat of paint. For this, I'm using a paintbrush just to get the paint onto the unit, but I'm then using a roller to spread it all out. Now, I always do the thinnest layer of paint every time I put the paint on, except for the last layer where I go a little bit thicker. And as you can see, it's super thin, which minimizes any bumps and air bubbles. And even though it does look a little bit bubbly when it's wet, as it dries, those air bubbles pop and it's very smooth. The aim of the game isn't to make these look black right now, it is to make them look not white. And as it doesn't take too long to dry in the sun, I can again sand and apply my second coat in the same manner. Just a super thin coat, and that should build up to a nice, smooth, even black finish. Alright, pal. You want to spread some glue?
Yes.
Alright, so you're going to use this paintbrush. And you go like that. That's it. Spread it out. All over. Wow, that's really good, buddy.
Right.
That is glue. Wood glue. Wood glue. Perfect. I think that's almost done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You say goodbye to everyone.
Bye. Bye.
The veneer isn't pre-glued, and I've seen a few different creators use different techniques on how to apply the veneer to the piece. If it were a much bigger piece, I probably wouldn't advise using this technique, but because these are quite small pieces of veneer, it has worked really well for me, so I'll just tell you what I've done. Basically, what I do is I get some wood glue and apply a nice thick layer. Some people do use 2 to 3 really thin layers, letting it dry in between, but I've just gone with one thick layer. You can let them dry naturally, or if you're in a bit of a rush like I always am, running behind, you can use the hairdryer to speed things along. Alrighty, so you can see here, this has got a nice sort of glossy, thick glue layer on it, all the way to the edges. So I'm going to lay that directly onto the drawer front, and I've got my iron set on quite a low setting, so there's no steam coming out of it, so it's not going to create any moisture, and it's also not so hot that it's going to burn the surface. So I start in the middle of the drawer and slowly work my way down, and it's basically heating up the glue underneath, softening it, and creating a nice adhesive. That is looking pretty sharp in my opinion. It is the next day and all the glue is well and truly dry, so it's time to do a light sand. And I go over all the surfaces with 240 grit sandpaper. But you can see here on this edge, it's not a perfect job, and this is my first time doing this, by the way, so I didn't expect it to be perfect, although I am quite happy with the result. There is a tiny gap between where these two pieces of veneer are meeting, so I just get some of the leftover veneer, sand it down, and I use that with a little bit of wood glue to create a wood filler that matches the same color as the veneer. And I just add that to the gap. While that's drying, I get onto my third and final coat of paint. I go in with slightly more paint than I would have done with the first two coats, but I certainly don't go crazy, because with my method using the foam roller, if you put on too much paint, you will get that kind of air bubble orange peel effect, which you definitely don't want. But if you go on with just a nice, even, smooth amount of paint, you will get a nice, even, smooth result. And you'll see that at the end. Obviously, if you have a spray gun, that is 100% the answer to all of these worries. That is definitely the way to go. I have one in New Zealand. I don't have one in the UK yet. Hence, I'm using my old foam roller technique. I was umming and ahhing as to what kind of hardware to put on these. So I thought, hey, I've got some spare veneer, I've got some MDF, and I've got this laser machine sitting here. So let's see if I can make my own hardware and save some money. So I banged out a few shapes, and each handle is made up of 4 pieces. These will not be everyone's cup of tea, I totally realised that, but they really suited the retro vibe that I was going for. I can't wait to see what people have to say about these. It's now time to sand the parts that I filled. So I go on with 180 grit and work my way up to 240, and then I can apply the hard wax oil. I use Gilboy's. I always use Gilboy's hard wax oil. I don't use any other oil. I know a lot of my viewers have purchased this based on my recommendations, so I really hope that you are happy with it. I've not had any negative feedback, so if you are after some hard wax oil, I highly recommend this Gilboys brand. I'll put a link in the description and you'll get 10% off your first order. In line with the retro theme that I'm going for, I picked these up off Amazon. Nice little legs. I think they were £11 for a set of 4, so 22 for the 8. Fully adjustable, well made, very sturdy. So that brings this project to an end. I have really enjoyed this one. It was fun to get a little bit creative, something a little different to the usual restoration. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see a bit more of what I do, please do hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. And until next time, take it easy.